What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Spencer. Taking a look at a Squadra tier list. I just think they're kind of fun, and I've been grinding the game recently, so I feel like I have fairly strong opinions about all of these characters. I will say, like, this tier list, I guess, is through the eyes of, like, B tier and below, as I'm pretty much at A tier now, or the A League, whatever you want to call it. And it's just kind of fun to look back at everything that I've seen so far as I, like, start actually playing against players who know how to play the game. And I think the only thing really it's going to cause is inflation. Like, there's not really going to be anyone at the bottom like you would see in a normal tier list. I think everyone's just going to be a little bit better than, like, an actual tier list based on competitive. But, you know, I am going to go ahead and just do best in class. I feel like they always get saves for last on these tier lists, but I figured I'd just, like, kind of go through them now because it's really not too much to talk about, and it's not going to be any different than you would see in any other tier list for sure. You know, when it comes to the attack roll, it's Oob and Kefla. I mean, basically infinite vanishes between the two of them, going along with crazy damage and also, like, the best secures in the game. It's like literally everything checked off the box in terms of a you know, an attack roll, especially on Super Start. Both of these characters are, like, even more insane. Oob just gets 4 vanishes, and those vanishes make you stronger. And it's just, once the snowball stacks start with these two, they kind of just steamroll the rest of the game. And, you know, all they need really is just Vanishing Step for the last little card there for them. Otherwise, they can go full red and just out damage everybody. So I think it's pretty obvious. Same thing here. Like I said, I think there's going to be a lot of inflation when it comes to the tank roll, but he's still just very easily the best. Just anybody who has a stun in the game is already pretty elevated, and the fact that he's a tank, and the fact that he just has this insane barrier, I mean, it's kind of unbelievable. Especially the different creative ways that you can use it. Obviously, to, like, get away, you get a little extra health when you do that too, of course, but there's all these times where I've played as, you know, Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, and I'll just use the barrier to block someone from going back to base, and then my DPS just, like, cleans up. Or, I mean, there's so many just strange applications, especially when you're trying to take boss. You can just block out your opponents or trying to ult, stuff like that. And, you know, pretty decent damage numbers. And then in the late game, you just, you know, once you can get his, I think it's like his skill 2, the one where he kind of brings everything towards him. It's just such a wide area, and it's just hard to keep up with them. And it just stands out. There's other really good tanks in the game. The tank is the most well-rounded role by far of any of the other ones. All the other ones are, like, super top heavy. Tank, you can almost play anybody, with, like, one exception, which I'll talk about. I mean, maybe a few, but yeah, he is still, to me, like, it's not even a question, the best tank available. And then we'll go to technical role. Same thing. I mean, there's definitely a few usable, I don't know. I mean, the tech class you can pretty much use all around, but it is just a little bit different with him, especially when you play with just, like, one other player who's in somewhat sync with you. Sometimes solo queuing can be a little bit hard, I guess, and, like, maybe some of the other ones are good for that, but not really. It's just being able to slingshot someone back into the middle of, like, DPSs or tanks or whatever the case may be, especially when it comes to the late game and, you know, some of those kind of post-boss kind of skirmishes that you end up getting into, like a post-team fight after everyone's trying to go for the boss, and then they're just low, because, like, you know, taking boss is definitely going to take some of your health. You just bounce them back towards your team, and they're dead, and his ult's also super-duper good. Does pretty good damage. You can just play him super defensively, and if you just stick around, you're just going to do positive things. You're not really going to do a lot of damage, but you're just going to enable people around you, which, you know, is the idea of the technical role anyways. And he just hasn't really been touched. I think he got nerfed one time. I wasn't really playing the game super hard after it happened, but I don't think it really made any difference at all. Just stun, 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 stun. If you could just successfully stun somebody, like, a lot like Vegeta, you actually can just win those one-on-one fights. And it's just so frustrating, right? You slingshot them, and then you have your skill 3, and you can pop your skill 1, like, every 2 seconds. You can end up, like, stealing some of these fights that you don't really deserve to have. And so, I think a lot of characters are going to end up going in Z tier here as just, like, good picks. But yeah, I did want to jump to the end and just kind of get here as we go along. I feel like I'm going to end up moving people up between A and Z. I'm gonna have to kind of feel out the list here. Let's start with Daima Goku. I think on the stats, and I'll probably pull it up on the video, Daima Goku is like the least picked character in the game, and that is definitely reflected in like the lower ranks, which is kind of interesting. I guess it's just because he's base Goku and no one really cares about that much, right? Like, we all want the big transformations, but even if it was just like Super Saiyan to Super Saiyan 3, I think people would be a little bit more excited about it. But, and he was one of the picks in the EU, the finals for Squadra, only for one game before they switched off. I want to say it was Annie, but I don't remember exactly. Daima Goku's very good. Even though no one plays him, I think his damage numbers are really crazy. I think all of his skills are good. He got a, like, he's one of the biggest low-key kind of recipients of buffs on that last little tune-up that they did. A lot of these characters actually are getting some, like, massive blow-ups. I don't know, like, where he's going to end up. I'm going to try to order these, you know, by class. Like, I don't want it to just be a random list where all of the, like, the Z tiers are together. I want to actually rank them inside. So it's going to be interesting to, like, kind of compare them as I, like, add people to this list to see where they kind of end up. But I do think he's kind of a top tier pick, in my opinion. You just don't really ever see him. That still doesn't mean he's bad. Super Saiyan Goku, he's pretty good. He's like, doesn't do a lot of damage, which I think is his problem. Still very good at securing, but I don't know. There's just better characters that secure now. Like, right, that's his biggest asset. He can secure. He can still do that, but okay, well, so can a lot of other, even like Daima Goku secure is pretty solid at this point. And so what are you really left with on a kit? Kaioken's really good for kind of those like front up battles. He's not terrible, and you don't really feel bad when you see him. Superstar ends up being pretty good for him too, because you know, the Kamehameha is just kind of weak in the beginning, and so it kind of just like guts him until you can get going a little bit more. So I think he's pretty good in A. He's just like one of those 9 to 5 characters where they're just there. They're just kind of there. Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and I think this is also going to be altered just a little bit, like from anecdotal experience in B tier. I don't think he's that great. I like, every time I see one, I kind of like, oh, this is going to be a little bit miserable. I'm not good with him either, but what ends up happening when you see him in low ranks, like, they don't really use instant transmission very well. They kind of get too confrontational, right? All you have to do is get in his face, and he just becomes a pointless character. He has that kind of hammer drop move, but it does like no damage. It's not. It's more of an escape skill than it is anything. I'm talking like super duper low health secure to like get ahead of them so they can't escape. But that's like its one use. Like, when you're in a team fight, you're just like skill 1, charge it up, you let it go, and then you just kind of hang around in the back. Like, there's characters that just do more like quickly than him. He did get a buff. I think his instant transmission's a little bit lower, but again, when you're playing in the lower ranks, like, people just don't really know when to use it, and they're kind of just like going around the map doing nothing and then dying. And that's kind of how I see it. He does have pretty good secure. So again, kind of the same thing. Like, they're just kind of okay. Like, you never like, oh, this is the worst pick I've ever seen, where you're just like not happy to see them. But yeah, I definitely think he's a little bit skilled, and just not good enough skilled for many low rank players to take advantage of enough. Yeah, Vegito, really good. In fact, he probably takes the first spot here, I would say. His only problem is that when you end up in solo queue sometimes in these lower ranks, like, your teammates are just not there with you. And he's really only effective in team fights, right? He pokes, he slows everyone down, he pokes again. And then when, like, you know, if you're a good Vegito player, you're just like hunting people down when they try to run away, right? You just do his, I think it's his skill 2 where it dashes to them, and then they're done. You know, they're not going to be able to keep up. He does have overhealth. You know, his ultimate is kind of weak. It's not weak. I mean, I feel like I'm being a little extreme. I guess from the very specific standpoint of securing boss, doesn't really, like, he's not the guy that you want to go in head first, be like, oh, okay, we have boss now, Vegito's here. It can be really good if it's like a team fight. Obviously, you just drop it, you get all your skills back, you're you know, doing Spirit Sword every 2 seconds. In that sense, it can be good, but there's all these different times where it's just like been me and like maybe the tank on, and I'm like, dude, I can't do enough damage here on the boss. And so I think that ends up kind of bringing him down quite a bit, in my opinion. He's still a great pick, though. In fact, I think it's one of those ones that you're like, okay, like Vegito's on my team, I'm feeling pretty decent. You know, you've just raised the floor, because sometimes when when your team just picks bad characters, you're just like, this is gonna be miserable. Like, I just know it's not gonna be good. You can sneak in any one character, but when like 2 of your teammates pick one of the lower ones, it can be rough. So like when you see Vegito, you're like, okay, like at least one of my DPS is gonna be like quite involved in this game. Let's go to Trunks. Trunks is not, I don't know, man. I've tried, and it's fun using him, and I think they buffed his health. Like, they need to buff it again. He's a very flawed character in terms of character design to me. Like, his whole thing is, oh, when you get a kill, you get an extra charge of your skill. But it's like every time I kill someone, like I've barely survived the confrontation, right? I'm not pressing anymore. Now you obviously do a lot of damage, and his ultimate's like pretty good, I guess. It has like a pretty good AoE, and like the AoE damage is like better than most in the game. Like, his ultimate does hit very hard. He just dies, you know? Like, you want to run Snowball, and then it's like you're just too far behind at that point. Like, the other defensive cards aren't going to make up for it. And like, if he'd run Snowball and he had like normal health and he could take advantage of it, you know, I'd even like, I don't know, maybe not Steel Skin, but I don't know. I don't know what he needs other than like more health. Like, is that just the problem? If he just gets that, does he just become like a really good character? Because I feel like he's one of the very few in the game where all 3 of your skills offensively are like very solid. Like, Broly's probably like really up there for that. Like, you want to upgrade all of your skills. Like, all of them are useful. Like I said, like when it comes to like Super Saiyan 3 Goku and his little like hammer fist, it's just kind of like nothing. Like, you can't say that about Trunks. Like, I think all of his skills are actually like quite good. Like, he does do a lot of damage, but he's just like a very much worse version of the top ones. Where it's like, yeah, well, Kefla and Oob also do boatloads of damage, but they're not dead every 2 seconds. So I hope he does get another buff someday. I think he deserves it. Piccolo, I feel like he's going to get a little downsized here because he's kind of like really hard to use in a sense, or to be very effective. Like, you really just kind of have to stick back. You're just like playing from the shadows. And it doesn't just like for me personally, like fit my play style. I don't necessarily like to do that. You know, I kind of like to be involved in these team fights. Like, when I use a skill, like I want to get in there and start rush attacking. Piccolo just isn't like that. He's like, all of his skills are pretty good. Other than the one where the orbs are in the sky. It's like, yeah, it's a bit of a nothing burger. Except when it's maxed out. Then it just like takes over entire lanes. But at that point, you're at like level 12. You know, like everybody is maxed out. You're not really getting a super duper advantage. It can if the game runs long, but that's a very specific case. And obviously, like, the best part about it just has like the ultimate secure in the game. You just charge it up in the bushes or something like that, and you just wait till it's like half health. I mean, it seriously does insane damage. And you get it like all the time. And so he can just be really effective that way. You know, I think you can run, you know, Snowball with him. Maybe go a little bit more defensively for, you know, your last cards. Like I said, like when you see him, you're like, yeah, I'm pretty happy. Like, someone can obviously throw pretty hard with him if they try to just like be too confrontational. But I would say for the most part, when you see a Piccolo, it's because someone really wants to play him. It's not really a character I feel like most people kind of test out in lower ranks. You're like, oh, okay, this guy definitely knows how to use Piccolo. And that's almost always the case. Except for me, because I'm terrible with him. I feel bad for anyone who played with me when I was playing those games trying to learn. I did not mean to make a perfect pyramid here, by the way. It's kind of cool. This is Android 18. I can never remember the difference between the two of them. I think this is 18. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to throw it at the very bottom. Like I said, this is kind of from the perspective of B rank and below. I don't think any character is going to hit D, in my opinion. Like, I think that's how bad inflation is for this, but she does so much burst damage, and sometimes it seems like she's cooking so hard. Like, you'll just watch, you're like, oh my gosh. That's like, I was playing one where they were on the other team, and they were like killing me a few times. Like, Dude, they must have like 10 kills. Like, this is the best Android 18 player I've ever seen in my life. And then, like, we ended up winning the game. I was like, dude, I gotta go see, like, what crazy stats she had put up. She was, like, dominating. It was, like, 5 kills and 4 deaths or something. Like, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's the best I've ever seen. And she really didn't even do that much. I feel like this is kind of a skill check character in a sense. Like, a lot of her damage depends on landing multiple skills. And she's not bad. Like, to be, you know what, actually, I'd be going as extreme to say this by a pretty large margin. Way better than Trunks. Like, when you see Trunks, you're just like, you're sighing. He's really, I think, one of the worst picks when it comes to DPS, especially in lower ranks when people are not good at managing their health very much. And then, you know, I'd rather just take, if we're going to go for a character, I guess these two are very similar in a sense where it's like their entire life depends on doing damage. They do nothing else, you know. And her ultimate is terrible too, by the way. So I think that's where the tough battle comes in, but I don't know. She can just melt people, I think, a lot quicker. If people like use their vanish and then she jumps in there and they can't get away, she'll just end you. Like, just like that. Like, it doesn't really matter who you are. So I think that's pretty valuable. I think that's kind of, you know, if you're playing against people who know what they're doing, I think she just becomes instantly useless. But because, like, players are still learning in these lower ranks, I think she gets bumped up a little bit here. Broly? I think Broly's really good. He's one of the most, obviously, most picked characters in the game, to no one's surprise. I think I'm going to move up pretty high, too, if I'm being honest. Yeah. I love playing Broly. I think he's like really good. I think you just run him a little defensively. I think he does do enough damage. I mean, everyone would want more damage. I think you just become the best character in the game if he did damage similar to these two, because his ultimate is amazing. It's so easy to use too. There's so many things that can go wrong, especially with like Oob ult. I've had the case of where you just kind of miss. It's not the biggest area. It's not like Piccolo's necessarily, and it's a little bit slow to get to. Broly's is like instant. If the boss is at like quarter health and you pop that off, everyone's going to try to run away from you. That's the other great thing about it too. They're not going to stick to it because they're getting cooked, you know. If you put your helper down where you do more damage and then you pop that, you're like securing things on your own. And I think that makes him really good. All of his skills are amazing. Huge AoE. The only problem is he just gets lapped by both of these characters. Like one-on-one, cooked every time. They're just quite literally running circles around him. Against anyone else, like, I like the matchup. He's great against tanks. He can just like put in a lot of work. If you're bold, you can run, you know, Snowball. I just don't think you could. I don't think you should. I think you just enjoy like Steel Skin. And I wouldn't run the one where you have to kill multiple people. I run too easy with him, and I think it works. And I think you can go I feel like you can either go like Vanishing Step for the last one. I can't remember the name of the other one, but it's the one where you land 3 rush attacks in a row, because that's really what you're doing. So you're boosting his damage quite a bit. That's kind of the build I've been running for a lot of characters. I think it's just like a good generic template. I think it works really well for him. And also, like, everyone loves him, so you see him all the time. And it's kind of hard to run into a bad Broly player. You might run into like a neutral where he doesn't really do anything. Very rarely do you like have a horrible game with Broly where you're just like, this guy's throwing. And he's doing something. Maybe he's like not ulting at the right times. That seems to happen all the time. They're just like overly used in like random team fights. But even then, like, even if you secure a kill or two and you're the other DPS and you're playing someone with secure, like you can kind of breathe easy. And I think that's like a huge benefit. So I think Broly's very good. Bojack, he kind of gets chased down really easy. I definitely think he's above Trunks. I would say that for sure. I almost want to say he's better than Super Saiyan Goku. I don't know. It's kind of a tie, I guess. This one's kind of like whatever. It's kind of just like an arbitrary difference. But like I said, I think Super Saiyan 3 being this low is more just like reflective of people not using him. I feel like it's like kind of hard to use Bojack wrong. You just kind of get this like AoE kind of burn damage thing. You get a big explosion. It's basically the same move as Piccolo's, you know, and his ult is like okay. It's like decent. It doesn't really hurt that bad. It's just kind of an annoyance. It's like almost like a worse version of Super Saiyan 4's. So I think if the damage was better, I think it'd be really interesting. It's not terrible. And even then, I almost think you can move him here. It's like Bojacks are just kind of the nothing burgers. Like when you see one, you're like, he'll be around. You know, I don't know what he's gonna be doing, but nothing horrible. He's not gonna be dying all the times like Trunks or something like that. He's just gonna exist. You know what I mean? He'll be doing his thing. He'll be poking, running away. You know, just like kind of being a general nuisance, and then you go around 500. You know, then the rest is kind of up to you to kind of fill in the gaps. And you'll just never see. I don't even know if I've ever seen a Bojack MVP screen. I don't even know what it looks like. You know, he's always just gonna be there. He's just okay. He's just okay. Dabura. I feel like this is kind of stupid, but Dabura is like a highly picked character. Honestly. Like, you see Dabura all the time. I don't know if it's like a meme or something. I mean, maybe not the right word to use, but it's just like, he just has like a reputation. You know, he's a really unique hit that no one else has, right? When you hit it, when you can actually like turn someone into a statue, you cook them, you know, maybe not a tank, but almost every other time. Or if you're with one other person, you're quickly cleaning up there. And so I think people like kind of have this desire to play him. And so in the low ranks, Dabura is like up there, I would say. He's probably in the top quarter of characters that you'll see, as crazy as that sounds. You know, once you get closer to A, he kind of like fades out of existence. But in the beginning, I feel like I saw a lot. He's all right. I feel like there are people who like really like using him and are like very effective at using him. Very rarely have I seen just like a 1 in 8 game from Dabura. Like, you're usually playing against someone who's like semi-dedicated. The only problem is he's just not very good, you know? If he misses one of his skills and you don't turn into a statue, he just becomes useless and you just absolutely destroy him. So he's just existing, you know? I feel like this is kind of the right order though, where it's like, because of that little extra boost of people who actually like playing Dabura. Like, sometimes I think people just play Trunks because they like Trunks. And kind of the same thing for Android 18. There's like, kind of like the character. You kind of get that vibe. No one really likes Dabura. And so if you're playing Dabura, you're picking him for kind of a specific reason, in my opinion. Kale. Kale's pretty good. Kale's okay. The only problem is that, like, he's kind of hard to use. Like, she's not a brain dead character. Her skill 3 is kind of too hard to land. When it lands, it's really cool. It's just kind of hard to. And so when you learn to kind of step back and just use your skills and like level those up before you ever go for skill 3, end up being quite effective. And then you can just have this like really bananas burst damage, obviously, and you can just like vanish towards people. I've had multiple MVP games with her. I've had multiple just like absolute destruction games too. And I just feel like she's one of those throw characters where I think if a really good player was a hold of her, she'd just like be okay, like maybe towards the top of A. It's just kind of a rare occurrence when you're like, when someone knows what they're doing and you're like, oh, your kill feed will just explode because she'll just go off and kill like 3 people at once. Especially if she comes in at the right time during boss and ults, not even to like secure the boss necessarily, but to just get everyone off or to kill the people that are left. That's when she's at her most effective. That's when you see those MVPs where it's just like, no one's doing burst damage like this. You know, her ultimate lasts a long time with the transformation. And it's just such a tank. You just have to be very strategic when you use it, because it's going to take a while for her to go and like destroy an entire health bar. But if they're like half health, if there's multiple ones, I should just jump them. But otherwise, yeah, you're not really too happy to see one when they're picked on your team. To me, at least. Topo's other like kind of low-key, pretty popular character of choice. I feel like you actually see Topo quite a bit, especially in B rank. People love picking Topo. I almost want to put him up Piccolo. I don't know. That's probably too much. I would say he's okay, you know, like he's like the very minimum character where you're like, yeah, like he'll play. He's gonna be there, you know. He'll be around. You just kind of have to care for him, you know. He's like gotta be your little buddy. You're just like, You good, dude? Are you just gonna try to like run in and die, like trying to hit your counter? Or are you just spinning around a little bit, helping with secure boss? His ultimate doesn't really do any damage at all, but it can help. It's there. It definitely helps scatter people away from the boss sometimes. And if you mess around, you can kind of get killed by him. He's just like, you know, he's just a dude. He does his thing. He shoots his little finger bullets and spins and does the counter every once in a while. I feel like he works really well with like Kid Gohan because it kind of helps him get in there. Like Topo's problem is he doesn't have enough health. And like he's a brawl character. He should have like so many ways of getting extra armor or just something like that. You know, like Vegito does. He has kind of that overcharge. I don't know what it's called. Where you can get a little extra health. Topo 100% needs that. Or else he's just kind of going to stay. I think he has potential to be pretty good, I guess. The only problem is like just mobile characters run the game. In every way. Like that's the one thing about all these characters. They're very mobile. Except for Vegito, but it doesn't really matter. He's just going to hit you into a rock and stun you. All these other characters just flying around. But he's pretty decent. You know, like when you see him on your team, you're like, yeah, all right. If we're not going to pick the top of the top, like, that's fine. You can pick Topo. The Gammas, no one plays them anymore. The only thing I think that was really changed about them is that their ult doesn't stun. Which obviously is really good, but it's hard to rank them. Like, I don't even know the last time I've seen one. I think they're all right. You know, once they get to like the core breaker, they can just like kind of nuke teams. That's like at the very end game though. All of their skills are pretty good. They're not like the easiest things to land. I think that's what kind of brings them down. You know, when you just kind of have to be a little strategic and like pay attention to people's vanish situations and stuff. But otherwise, he's there. He's doing his thing. I was like really into them for a while. I tried playing them the other day, and I was kind of getting destroyed. So definitely have to go back and kind of learn them. But I remember at their peak, I was playing them like a lot, and I leveled them up to like 5. Like I was like just racking up MVPs, and I still think he's very good. And I think if you learn how to manage their health, which I'm terrible at too, I think he can be extremely effective. So I think I still think they're great. All these characters are like pretty good. In fact, I kind of feel like there's a gap between him and Piccolo a little bit. It's definitely a pretty healthy bridge, to be honest, between like the best and the worst here. It does feel weird to have Vegito and Topo in the same tier for sure, but I think it's kind of a product of inflation here when it comes to B rank and below for 100%. All right, that's the attackers. Like I said, we'll have to see if any of these even come up here. Like there's I don't know. To be honest, it's funny that I say that because I definitely think he's like the first candidate to go into D. I think Super Saiyan Vegeta is just a steaming pile of garbage. He does no damage. He doesn't really do anything. He's just your classic 0 kill, 4 deaths, 4 assist characters. He's just in every way like does no damage at all. He must have the lowest damage numbers in the history of the game. Which is just kind of crazy that Super Saiyan Vegeta is like that. If they buffed his skills like at all, like his ultimate, it looks cool. It looks like a massive explosion, and it's just like no one's damaged from it. It's just really like might as well just be like a solar flare. And then like his little like key volleys, just like little taps on the back, like, "Hey buddy, I'm here. You know, you want to hang out?" And you're like, "No. I'm just going to kind of go away and do my own thing, but cool, thank you." Like, he doesn't die a lot. He really, like, adds nothing to the game at all. It's like, when you see Super Saiyan Vegeta as your tank character, it's miserable, because you just know that they're not going to be doing nothing meaningful at all. So, I hate him, actually. I really hate him. Let's go to Bardock. Yeah, this is, like I said, I'm separating them, so it's not like Bardock is actually like this far. There's no point in comparing, you know, assault and tank players. Yeah, Bardock's insane, you know, really good. His wrath is nuts, especially when it comes to boss. Like a really good one will just save it, and then right when it gets low, you'll just wrath, and so all the characters that are there are just like huddling around you, and then your other teammates can just like, you don't even have to use their ult to secure boss, or they can use it while you're all like wrapped up in this wrath thing. And this other skill just like punches you across the map. You can actually, in the lower ranks, he becomes really, really good. When people have no idea what they're doing, and DPSers just kind of charge you thinking they can play a little bit, and then you end up just absolutely demolishing them. It's happened a lot. And so you're always happy when you see Bardock, who's also a pretty popular character. You'll see Bardock all the time. And it's just a solid pick. It's really just a super solid pick. His ultimate does absolutely nothing, but that's okay. He never dies. He never dies, and he does decent damage. I think that's all you can ask for. It's basically a stun, right? A Wrath is almost a better stun, low-key. Caulifla, I don't know. She doesn't do that much damage. I feel like when I first started playing the game in Season 1, I feel like I could go cross-map, pop skill 1 and skill 2, and then, like, they'd almost be dead, And then now when I use it, it's just like, Her ultimate sucks. It does nothing. It's kind of has a weird pathway. It's only kind of good when it's super upgraded. And then your skill 3 does nothing. It doesn't help you get away from anything. It separates you for like 3 seconds. And you get run down. You don't ever really see her either. I rarely do you see one. And when you do, you're just like, yeah. There's much better, like literally so many other better picks, I think B tier is actually a pretty decent spot for her. I think she needs something. I don't know what it is. Like an ult maybe that does anything. Like bring her skill 2 damage a lot, because the first one is just like it's just a little Wrath. It doesn't even do damage. It's just like you have to use your skill 1 and skill 2 together for it to be effective. And then you're just doing nothing, Really good health and really good defense, but that's not enough. Like, you need your tank to do more than that, for sure. Cooler is pretty cool. I definitely think Bardock is better, but I think Cooler is, like, awesome. A Superstar, all these tanks on Superstar are nuts. Superstar benefits tanks probably the most, honestly. I don't have a super strong opinion on Cell, which I'll get to in a second, but all the other ones that I'm looking at them, like, yeah, you get your Superstar kick, you get Wrath, you get your super big AoE. You're just the anti-Kale pick. And that's awesome. You get your Wrath all the time. Your ultimate is... I'm looking now really quickly if I make a mistake. No, like, you definitely have the best ult of the tanks. I think Zamasu's is very similar, but I think his ultimate does more damage. Cooler. I think that makes a difference. I think Zamasu is very good too, by the way. Which I'll get to. Like I said, I think the tank is like the... easily the most well-rounded class. Like, you're almost never miserable outside of Super Saiyan Vegeta and like Baby. I'll just do that one too. I don't even have much to say. Baby just does nothing. You're just like, what? Huh? Like, every once in a while you see him and he's just like not there anymore. You're just like, okay, see you, buddy. It's very rarely do you come across a good one. Even then, it's not even... I would say neither of these even just like ruin the game necessarily. I mean, sometimes they do when they just like super duper suck. But even if they're best, they're just like neutral. They're not really adding too much to the game. You're just like, okay, sure, you're there. But yeah, I guess my final thoughts and my little tangent there. Cooler's good. All of his skills are good, especially when you can like upgrade the last one that slams him on the ground in team fights. You just get those iframes. Your opponent just like kind of gets stunned. It can be kind of hard to lay in the beginning. That's why I just like don't focus on it at all. But yeah, everything kind of works in tandem with him. And also, he's like really great mid-transformation fighting. Like the other ones, you don't really want. You just kind of want to use them right away. I feel like for Cooler, you can just kind of get super involved in those team fights and then transform, and you just get into it. If you just have a slight health advantage, he takes super good advantage of it because his AOE's are just so large. Cell, his early game is so trash. Like once he becomes Cell, I feel like, especially in the lower ranks, he'll be like pretty effective. Like his one skill where he like kind of throws a bomb and it detonates into a big area, when it's maxed out, it does like really good damage. Like he must have some of the best damage numbers of any tank in the game. Like just raw damage numbers like that. It's just like, oh, he's just food. The first team fight when you're fighting over the Kai, like I just feel like I kill Cell every time, And so you can get behind. And you don't want to get too far behind when you start these games. And I think he has a pretty dedicated... I think Cell obviously has a lot of fans, so a lot of people like playing Cell. You'll see Cell all the time. I'm just kind of happy when I see one, and it's not on my team, because I feel like I'm just like going to go after them. His ult's cool. It can kind of help secure boss every once in a while, so definitely has one of the best and most effective boss defenses of any of them. which I think makes him very effective. I think his damage is pretty decent. But just until you get to like, all the energy that you need, which is usually comes around level 6 or 7, like you can just be so much farther along, I think, with other tanks, that he just doesn't make him the best pick. Zamasu, I think he had some of those underrated buffs in that last little tune-up that they did. I actually think he's better than Cooler now. It's very close, though. Like I said, this is great when you see your team with any of these, which is crazy to say because Zamasu was not that good for a very long time. His ult can help you secure boss, especially in that a little bit past the quarter, doesn't do that much damage, but like if you can just wait that little extra long, or if everyone's really going for you, you can kind of pop it. And I've gotten tons and tons and tons of secures with him because of it. His skill 3 is awesome, especially in Super Start. You just get a massive AoE and you're farming. And his kit goes along with it. The more, farming that you do, the more battles you're doing with NPCs, and you're filling up your immortality meter. And so what you end up, his skill 1 does actually like pretty great damage. No red cards. He just doesn't die. I had that string, and it's on my TikTok, where I had like 5 MVPs in a row with Zamasu. Like, I think he can carry in lower ranks, where you're just like forcing your team to stick with you, and you're just like taking charge, and you're playing point basically, because you can do it. You can be on boss, you can defend pretty well, and he gets that little extra skill 1 charge. And like I said, when a DPS will come up to you like, what is this, Zamasu? And then you just skill 1 them twice, especially when it's maxed out. It does so much like AoE damage basically, and it slows them down a little bit. You're very effective in team fights. I might do a separate video on Zamasu alone. I've had a great time playing him. So that kind of rounds out the tanks here. Like I said, like in the very beginning part of the video, Z is going to be filled. Like there's just like a certain level when you're playing low ranks where you're just like okay with seeing them. This is when things get a little shaky, especially, I don't know. I kind of want to do this, but I think her potential is pretty decent. And it's just kind of a flip of a coin, honestly. But yeah, I think there's just a lot of very usable characters in low ranks. I feel like if you go into like A, especially, or S, of course, and you're running into a Topo, like you're getting destroyed. You can get away with it in B rank, I think. And it's ordered pretty well. I think it's ordered pretty well. Kid Gohan is very good. I think he's like potentially the second best technical in the game. I think he's amazing in low ranks. I think that's where he gets most of his value. Like I said, when people are bad at managing health. Super Start, I think he might be the best Super Start technical. When you just have this massive AoE that brings down defenses, you could just melt through people. It only gets better as the game goes on. Like if your opponent, if you're, one of your teammates has snowball stacks or just any sort of extra damage, you are like controlling the game. Like I have 16, 17 assist games with him. So if you really like team fights, he's pretty much the only technical that you'd want to do that in. All the other ones are kind of like, Gotenks to a certain extent, but I don't think he's very good. If you want to be in the mud and you just want to be in there, I think he's good for that. His ult's like pretty decent. It just gives you a lot of damage, but like the actual explosion part is just very slow and kind of hard to land, really. Like it can help you secure boss. The timing you have to get really, really down, because you can't pop it as you're trying, like at the quarter health mark, because everyone else is going to be trying to secure too. And by the time it goes off and hopefully it like makes it land, it's a slow burner. And so it's just decent. You end up getting more value out of just like the extra buffs that you get. You can use all your skills during your ultimate, which is very unique. You pop defense, you're stunning somebody, you're trying to hold on to this explosion maybe for someone who's trying to get away. But yeah, I think he's great. I think he has a really good pick. I don't feel like he's not even picked that often. Every time when I play technical, I more times than not end up picking him. And I feel like I'm a very positive influence on the game. This is going to be like my first hot take. Every time you see Krillin, he's always like thrown into A tier. Which in their case, like Z doesn't always exist. So I don't know. I don't get it. At most, he's annoying. He's kind of reminds me a lot of Android 18, where you're like, wow, that was like the greatest Krillin game I've ever seen in my life. Like that guy was actually cooking with Krillin, and he had like a 4-3 game. And you're like, okay, well, I guess he didn't really do that much, did he? You don't really come across good Krillin players too in lower ranks. Like maybe as it goes on, he gets thrown up there as being one of the best. When I see him, I'm like, ugh, this is going to be miserable. This guy isn't going to do anything. He's not going to help me secure. I don't know, like, his defense is just, like, not going to be enough. He's going to try to get into one of these one-on-one fights, and he becomes one of the most useless characters in the game. I'll put him. I'll keep him in A tier for now, but I feel like this is about as far as I'm going to take it. Gotenks is, like, you will see all the time. He's just a popular character. And I think this is a product of B tier and lower. I'm like happier to see Gotenks than I am to see Krillin on my team when I'm playing with bad teammates. At the very least, Gotenks can kind of keep your enemies together, like kind of bunch them up, so maybe other players can use their skills. His ghosts are okay. He can kind of be like pretty decent in those one-on-one fights, like unexpectedly, or put a lot of pressure on you as like a DPS or whatever the case may be. His ultimate is terrible though, really garbage. And really all of his other skills are just not great, other than the ghost. The ring is only kind of good at level 3 when everyone's trying to run away and it has this giant AoE. But it's a pretty dedicated group. People who play Gotenks like love playing Gotenks. And I think they play them all the time. I don't think it's one of those characters that people dabble in. Like if you like him, you're playing him quite a bit. And so when you see him picked, you're like, there's better ones, but sure, why not? Okay, I think this is Android 17. I don't know if I mixed the names up. But he's pretty good. Yeah. I think he definitely belongs in Z tier. Just doesn't die. He's just like the one technical that just keeps everyone around, you know? His little kick energy key blast skill like does pretty good damage too. His ult's great. It just ults survive anything and survives anyone around you. It's like kind of one of those few characters that like gives you like this big boost of health, like Boo does, and Boo's like pretty good, but it's just not to the same level, honestly, in my opinion. We're just like, oh my gosh, like they're low, like we're gonna kill 2, and then he just ults and just like they're gone, and you're like, oh, okay, and then you just kind of live to fight another day. He just kind of holds the glue together of the team and just kind of pokes every once in a while. And especially when you like run into a good one, like he's cooking like really, really hard. But it's never a bad pick, so I think he deserves to kind of be up there. Good Boo. I would say there's definitely like close to a gap here. I think good Boos are very good. I think Boo's just kind of average. Just like, yeah, that's fine. Like if you see him, like, yeah, that's Boo. He's gonna heal people. He's gonna run really fast, you know, kind of a random skill that he has. Really good at slowing people down. That's probably his best trait. You're just like you're just like working behind the scenes, you know, when you're playing as Boo. You're just like kind of chucking these things, like trying to get people to not have an opportunity to run away. I think Boo's like actually like one of the best tanks to take on like Kefla in a sense. In the sense like you just throw it on her and then she's just not as mobile, which is like the big thing. And she can die pretty easily. I think Boo's fine. I do definitely think there's a bit of a gap between like Kid Gohan and Android 17 and Boo. But I do think Boo definitely deserves to be kind of at the top of this right now. Frieza, I think it was like one of the stats was that Frieza was the #1 or like a part of the best teams in the EU, like in terms of win rate. There's so many things that go along with it. And it's just fun. Like the stats were fun to look at, but they're not like a holy Bible of the truth about a character, in my opinion, at least. I think this is about right. I do think it's really one of those coin flip kind of things. Like either playing a Frieza that's really, really good and they're like low key, like not gonna get MVP, but kind of carrying you by taking towers when you just like blink for 2 seconds. There's also those like ones that just kind of stick around and try to fight. Like if you're playing Frieza, you're just like trying not to like, you're avoiding any direct conflict because you have no health. You're just gotta be a sneaky little guy. And you're trying to make your way around and take towers. And that's kind of your whole purpose. But Hit does the same thing, but he's like 50 billion times better, I think. Frieza's fine, you know. No technical feels like a throw, which I guess is good. It's good on them to make them all somewhat usable, but I don't know. I just feel like you have to really know what you're doing, and I think the problem is that Frieza's popular, and so a lot of people pick him, and it's a bit of a double whammy there. it's just like, it's just luck of the draw. You just have to kind of like adjust because you're not getting any help on offense. You know, like when you're playing in team fights, he's not going to be too around like very frequently. He can be good at securing bosses early game, but if you just like kill Zarbon and Dodoria, easily like the most useless character in the game. Like Frieza can't do anything by himself. And so like as you get into the B ranks and stuff, Frieza just becomes less and less usable. And then you have Hit. I'm gonna like, I think he's gonna go down just a little bit, like from what you probably like usually see from him as just like kind of being up there. So there's just a lot of bad Hit players. Like any Hit player that wants to get involved in team fighting a lot, it's not even that he's gonna be horrible. It's like fine. Like he'll hold his own. It's not pretty. It's not great. But it's like you could just also like be using a different like better character if you really want to get that involved in team fights. You know, like the best Hit players are just like taking towers left and right, and you'll just never know it. They're just sneaking around. They're becoming invisible. They're blinding you. They're gone. By the time you realize what's going on, they've taken like half the tower, and then he disappears again. It's like, okay, see you later. So when you have a Hit like that, like you really feel good. I think his skills are all pretty good too. So I think he's a very effective player. But like I said, I feel like when you start seeing the snowball hits and stuff, which is what I tried to do in the beginning too, it's like, yeah, like just pick Ultimate Gohan then. Just pick Kid Gohan if that's what you really want to do. And you'll just end up being more effective because of it. But yeah, like I said, yeah, like no one's in D, you know. Although I guess by like proxy, like I guess C becomes the new D in a way. But it's a noticeable, like D I would say would be unusable. I guess that's what I probably should have labeled it. I would have got like unusable. I definitely think there's a lot of unusable characters when it comes to A rank and above. Like I don't know if I spelled that right, but whatever. Like I would say Vegeta and Baby become pretty much borderline unplayable in the higher ranks. Like once you get to A, you're like genuinely throwing at that point. I think all of these characters are honestly unusable, but when you're climbing your way up, it's just kind of a different level. And ultimately, I just wanted to do this video because it was fun. Curious to know what you guys think about this. Let me know in the comment section down below what you agree with, what you don't agree with, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time.